The betrayal. Ambassador Elena Chen straightened her crisp uniform as she strode through the gleaming halls of the Galactic Council's headquarters on Alpheus Prime. The iridescent walls shimmered with the combined artistry of 1,000 alien cultures, a testament to the unity forged over millennia. Elena allowed herself a small smile. In her 120 years, a respectable age for a human in the 51st century, she had never tired of this view. As she approached the Grand Chamber, Elena nodded to her Zhoric counterpart, Ambassador Krasnik. The arthropod-like alien's mandibles clicked in what Elena recognized as a friendly greeting. Another routine meeting, Elena. Krasnik's translator hummed. Though I hear the Proxians are pushing for stricter regulations on quantum entanglement communication again. Elena chuckled. When are they not? Don't worry, we'll find a compromise. We always do. If only she knew how wrong she was. The Grand Chamber doors parted, revealing a cavernous space dominated by a circular arrangement of podiums. Representatives from over 500 species filled the room with a cacophony of sounds, colors, and scents. Elena took her place at the human podium, feeling a swell of pride. It had been nearly 3,000 years since humanity had joined this august body, and the novelty had never worn off. High Arbiter Zoltera, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate crystalline structure, called the session to order. The chamber fell silent. Esteemed colleagues, Zoltera's melodious voice reverberated through the room. We convene today to discuss matters of galactic importance. But first, an urgent motion has been brought forth by the Security Council. Ambassador Vexlor of the Proxian Confederation, you have the floor. Elena frowned. This wasn't on the agenda. She glanced at Krasnik, who seemed equally puzzled. Vexlor, a tall, slender being with reflective silver skin, rose from his podium. His black eyes swept the room, lingering for a moment on Elena. Esteemed colleagues, Vexlor's voice was cold, devoid of its usual diplomatic warmth. For 3 millennia, we have welcomed humanity into our ranks. We have shared our knowledge, our resources, our very worlds with them. And how have they repaid us? Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Vexlor continued, his voice rising. With unchecked ambition, with reckless expansion, with technological advancements that threaten the very fabric of our society. Holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber, showing images of Earth's recent achievements. Matter replication technology, consciousness transfer, even early experiments in localized space-time manipulation. Humanity, Vexlor declared, has become a threat to galactic stability. Their so-called innovations flout our most sacred laws. Their insatiable curiosity knows no bounds. Left unchecked, they will remake the galaxy in their image, heedless of the consequences. Elena stood, her heart pounding. This is absurd. Everything we've developed has been in full compliance with Council regulations. We've shared all our advancements to the benefit of all species. Shared, Vexlor sneered, or strategically revealed. We have evidence the humans have been conducting clandestine research for centuries, hiding their true capabilities. More images appeared, secret labs buried in asteroid belts, encrypted transmissions between distant human colonies, prototype weapons that defied known physics. Elena's mind raced. Some of the images were clearly fabricated, but others hinted at projects she'd heard whispers of, but had dismissed as rumors. Had she been kept in the dark by her own government? The Security Council has deliberated, Vexlor announced, and we have reached a decision. For the safety of all galactic citizens, for the preservation of our way of life, we must act decisively. High Arbiter Zoltera's crystalline form pulsed with an ominous red light. Ambassador Vexlor, surely there are diplomatic solutions we haven't explored. The humans have been peaceful members of our community for too long. Vexlor interrupted. We've been blind to the threat growing in our midst. No more. I call for an immediate vote on Resolution 359, a declaration of war against the human race and all its colonies. The chamber erupted in chaos. Alina's ears rang as hundreds of alien voices shouted in a babel of languages. She locked eyes with Krasnik, seeing her own shock mirrored in his compound eyes. "This is madness," Alina shouted, but her voice was lost in the tumult. High Arbiter Zoltera's booming voice cut through the noise. "Order. We will have order." As the chamber quieted, Alina's mind raced. This had to be a mistake, a misunderstanding. Somewhere in the sea of alien faces, she searched for allies, for the friends humanity had made over millennia of peaceful cooperation. But she saw only fear, confusion, and in too many cases, grim determination. "We will vote," Zoltera declared, their voice heavy with reluctance. "As per our charter, a 2/3 majority is required for the resolution to pass." Alina's fingers flew over her console, sending emergency encryptions to Earth and every human colony. Whatever happened next, her people needed to be warned. The voting commenced. Species after species registered their decision. Alina watched in horror as the holographic tally climbed inexorably towards the fatal threshold. "No," she whispered. 3,000 years of peace. It can't end like this." The final vote was registered. The chamber fell silent as Zoltera's crystal pulsed with a deep, mournful blue. "Resolution 359 has passed," Zoltera announced, their voice laden with sorrow. "Let the record show that the Galactic Council has formally declared a state of war against the human race and all its holdings." Alina's world shattered. In an instant, everything she had worked for, everything she believed in, crumbled to dust. Vexilor's voice cut through her shock. "Seize the human ambassador. We cannot allow her to warn Earth." Alina's training kicked in. She slammed a hidden button on her podium, activating emergency protocols. A shimmering force field sprang up around her as chaos erupted in the chamber. "Alina," Krasnik's voice reached her through the pandemonium. "This way." Without hesitation, Alina vaulted over her podium. Security drones converged on her position, only to be swatted aside by Krasnik's powerful limbs. Together, they sprinted for a concealed exit, alarms blaring around them. "Why?" Alina gasped as they ran through twisting corridors. "Not all of us have lost our minds," Krasnik clicked, "or our honor. My ship is in Docking Bay 7. It's your only chance." They burst into the cavernous docking bay. Krasnik's ship, a sleek vessel bristling with Jorek technology, stood ready. "I'm coming with you," Krasnik declared. Alina started to protest, but the thunder of approaching security forces decided for her. They bounded up the boarding ramp as energy weapons scared the deck around them. The ship's engines roared to life. Alina strapped herself in, her diplomat's poise finally cracking as the enormity of what had happened crashed over her. "Course set for Earth," Krasnik announced. "But we'll need to make some evasive maneuvers first. Half the Galactic fleet will be after us." As the ship rocketed out of the docking bay, Alina stared at the rapidly receding form of Alpheus Prime. How had it come to this? What had humanity done to deserve such betrayal? One thing was certain. The galaxy would never be the same again. And humanity, caught unawares after 3 millennia of peace, would have to fight for its very survival. The stars streaked into lines as the ship jumped to FTL. Alina closed her eyes, sending a silent prayer to Earth. "Be ready," she whispered. "The storm is coming." Earth stands tall. General Akira Tanaka stood motionless in the heart of Earth's Defense Command, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. The room hummed with tense activity as officers and AI interfaces processed the flood of incoming data. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, her voice tight with urgency, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Ambassador Chen's ship. Sir, it's a war declaration." Tanaka's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." Alina Chen's hologram materialized, her usual composure replaced by barely contained panic. "General, the Galactic Council has betrayed us. They've declared war on humanity, A galactic fleet is en route to Earth. You have less than 6 hours to prepare. As Elena's warning echoed through the command center, alarms blared to life. Tanaka's mind raced through scenarios he'd hoped never to face. Implement Defense Protocol Omega, Tanaka ordered, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. And get me the president. Now. As the command center erupted into controlled chaos, Tanaka allowed himself a grim smile. The aliens thought they had caught humanity unaware. They were in for a surprise. Across the globe, hidden installations hummed to life. In the depths of the Mariana Trench, gigantic turbines began to spin, channeling the ocean's power into long-dormant shield generators. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, automated factories roared into production, assembling swarms of nanodrones. On the far side of the moon, weapon systems that had slumbered for centuries awakened, their targeting systems locking onto the incoming threat. In New Beijing, Dr. Yuki Sato sprinted through the corridors of the Quantum Research Institute, her lab coat fluttering behind her. She burst into a secured vault, where a team of scientists huddled around a pulsing orb of swirling energy. The Gordian core, Yuki breathed. Please tell me it's operational. Her colleague, Dr. Emika Okafor, looked up from his console, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. We've never tested it at full capacity, but no time like the present. Yuki interrupted, her fingers flying over the control panel. Initiate full-spectrum quantum entanglement. Let's show these aliens what humanity's been keeping up its sleeve. In low Earth orbit, Captain Zara Vega banked her sleek Starfire interceptor, leading a squadron of Earth's most advanced fighters into position. The vast curve of the planet loomed beneath them, deceptively peaceful. All wings, report in, Zora commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. As her pilots sounded off, Zora's eyes locked onto the distant pinpricks of light, rapidly resolving into the leading edge of the galactic fleet. Hundreds, then thousands of alien ships dropped out of FTL, their formations blotting out the stars. Stay sharp, Starfire Squadron, Zara said, her hand tightening on the controls. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Weapons hot. Back in the Defense Command, General Tanaka watched as the holoprojection filled with enemy signatures. It was like nothing he'd ever seen, an armada vast enough to darken the sky. Sir, his aide reported, the enemy fleet is launching fighters. They'll be within weapons range in 2 minutes. Tanaka nodded, his expression resolute. Activate the Aegis shield. Deploy the swarm. And may whatever gods are out there have mercy on us all. High above the Earth, the first wave of alien fighters screamed towards the seemingly defenseless planet. Their sensors showed no significant orbital defenses, no planetary shield. Victory, it seemed, would be swift and absolute. Then, with a flash that outshone the sun, the Aegis shield snapped into existence. A shimmering, translucent barrier enveloped the Earth, extending from the upper atmosphere far into space. The alien vanguard slammed into it at full speed, their ships disintegrating in spectacular explosions. In the Galactic Fleet's command ship, Admiral Vexlor stared in disbelief. Impossible. Their planetary defense technology was decades away from. His words were cut short as new alerts flooded his tactical display. From the Earth's surface, countless swarms of microscopic drones rose like glittering clouds, engulfing alien ships and methodically disassembling them molecule by molecule. Starfire Squadron, engage. Zara's voice rang out as her fighters dove into the fray. What they lacked in numbers, they made up for in sheer technological superiority. Quantum-locked targeting systems allowed them to fire with pinpoint accuracy through the Aegis shield, while the alien weapons splashed harmlessly against the barrier. Zara corkscrewed through the chaos, her neural interface allowing her to pilot the Starfire with thought alone. An alien cruiser loomed before her, its hull bristling with weapon emplacements. Fox 3, she called, unleashing a salvo of phase-shifted missiles. They passed through the aliens' shields as if they weren't there, detonating within the ship's vital systems. The cruiser split apart in a silent explosion, debris scattering across the starfield. In the Quantum Research Institute, Yuki and her team worked feverishly to stabilize the Gordian core. The orb of energy pulsed erratically, tendrils of light lashing out to scorch the laboratory walls. Power fluctuation. Emika shouted over the rising hum of the machinery. We're losing containment. Yuki's hands danced over the controls, her mind racing to solve equations that would have baffled most geniuses. Reroute power from the secondary grid. Adjust the quantum harmonics to match the shield frequency. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if the core would tear itself apart. Then, with a sound like 1,000 thunderclaps, it stabilized. A wave of energy radiated outward, interfacing with the Aegis shield. In orbit, Zara gasped as her fighter systems suddenly supercharged. Command, what's happening? Our weapons, our shields. Everything's operating beyond theoretical limits. General Tanaka's voice crackled through the comm. That, Captain, is the sound of humanity refusing to go quietly into the night. Press the advantage. Show them what we're made of. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. Human weapons, now energized by the Gordian core, cut through alien defenses like paper. The swarms of nanites, moving with impossible speed and coordination, systematically dismantled entire sections of the Galactic fleet. Admiral Vexilor watched in horror as his mighty armada crumbled before the human counterattack. Ships he had considered invincible were reduced to scrap in minutes. Weapons that could shatter planets bounced harmlessly off the Earth's shield. How? He whispered, his earlier bravado evaporating. How could we have underestimated them so badly? As the last of the alien ships fled or surrendered, a cheer went up in the Defense Command Center. General Tanaka allowed himself a small smile before turning to his staff. Well done, all of you. But this was just the first wave. Send word to all our colonies. The war has begun, and Earth stands tall. Now we prepare for what comes next. In the sudden quiet following the battle, Tanaka's gaze drifted to the holographic image of Earth, still wrapped in its shimmering shield. Humanity had survived its baptism by fire, but the real test was yet to come. The general's voice was soft, but filled with iron determination. We've kept our secrets, honed our strength in the shadows of peace. Now let the galaxy see what humanity is truly capable of. As if in response, the Gordian core pulsed once more, sending a ripple through the Aegis shield that lit up the night sky from pole to pole. It was a declaration and a warning, written in light across the stars. Humanity would not go quietly. The war had only just begun. The hidden frontier. Dr. Aria Novak's boots crunched on the icy surface of Europa, Jupiter's enigmatic moon. The scientist's breath fogged inside her helmet as she stared at the monolithic structure that had just emerged from beneath the ice sheet. Its obsidian surface seemed to drink in the pale light of the distant sun, defying analysis. Control, are you seeing this? Aria's voice was hushed with awe. Affirmative, Doctor, came the reply from the research base orbiting high above. Our scans are inconclusive. Whatever that structure is, it's not registering on any of our instruments. Aria stepped closer, her hand reaching out almost involuntarily. As her gloved fingers brushed the smooth surface, a seam appeared, widening into a doorway. Warm, Earth-like air rushed out. Well, Aria murmured, unhooking her helmet, I guess that's an invitation. Light years away, aboard the flagship of humanity's hastily assembled war fleet, Admiral Alina Chen pored over tactical displays. The former ambassador had traded her diplomatic robes for a military uniform, her new role a testament to how quickly the world had changed. Status report, she barked, her eyes never leaving the holographic star map. Captain Ravi Malik, her second in command, stepped forward. The Galactic fleet is regrouping in the Orion Arm. Our long-range scouts report they're conscripting ships from neutral worlds. They'll outnumber us 10-1 in a matter of weeks. Alina's jaw tightened. Earth's miraculous defense had bought them time. But the war was far from over. And Project Lazarus? Ravi's expression was grim. We've successfully activated the hidden installations across the solar system. But he hesitated. Spit it out, Captain. The technology we're dealing with, Admiral. Some of it isn't ours. At least it doesn't match any known human designs. Elena nodded slowly. She'd suspected as much. It seems our ancestors left us some surprises. Let's hope we can figure them out before the Council regroups. The lieutenant rushed up, her face pale. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Europa expedition. You're going to want to see this. Deep within the structure on Europa, Area Novak stood before a vast holographic display. It flickered to life as she approached, showing star maps, schematics, and strings of alien text that somehow, impossibly, she could understand. This is incredible, she breathed. It's some kind of galactic defense network. Built by, she squinted at the text, the precursors. Behind her, a squad of Marines secured the perimeter, their weapons trained on shadows. Sergeant Sarah Martinez approached, her scared face a mask of concern. Doc, I don't like this. First Earth, now here. How many secret bases did we have squirreled away? Aria shook her head, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. That's just it, Sergeant. I don't think this base is ours. At least, not originally. As if in response, the entire structure hummed to life. Lights flickered on in long dormant corridors. Machinery older than human civilization stirred. Oh my God, Aria gasped. A new set of schematics flashed before her eyes. It's not just a base, it's a ship, and it's waking up. On a distant world at the edge of human space, a top-secret facility buzzed with frenetic energy. The Nexus, as it was known to the handful of people cleared to know of its existence, was the crown jewel of human quantum research. Dr. Yuki Sato sprinted through its winding corridors, clutching a datapad to her chest. She burst into the central chamber, where a team of the world's brightest minds huddled around a swirling vortex of energy, the heart of the Gordian core. I've cracked it, Yuki announced, brandishing the datapad. The artifact isn't just a power source, it's a key. Dr. Emeka Okafor looked up from his console, his eyes wide. A key to what? Yuki's grin was equal parts excitement and terror. To the hidden quantum network connecting all precursor technology, including, if I'm right, that ship they just found on Europa. Admiral Chen's flagship dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Jogian system. Through the view screen, Europa gleamed like a pearl against the vast striped face of Jupiter. Life support is stable, Ravi reported. No sign of Council forces in the system. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the moon. Take us in. And someone get Dr. Novak on the comm. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. As the ship approached, a massive shape rose from Europa's icy surface. It dwarfed Elena's flagship, its sleek lines hinting at technologies far beyond current human understanding. By all that's holy, Rady whispered. The ship's comm crackled to life, and Aria's excited voice filled the bridge. Admiral, are you seeing this? It's called the Starborn. And if I'm reading these schematics right, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Elena leaned forward, her tactical mind already racing with possibilities. Explain. The precursors, Aria continued, her words tumbling out in a rush. They seeded galaxies with these ships, along with other technologies, quantum nodes, defense platforms, even terraforming engines, all linked in a vast network, waiting to be awakened. By us, Elena finished. But why? Why leave all this for humanity to find? There was a pause before Aria responded, her voice hushed with the weight of revelation. Because, Admiral, I think we're their descendants. In the depths of space, far beyond the edge of human-controlled space, a Galactic Council scout ship drifted silently. Its crew watched in growing horror as human ships began to appear on their long-range sensors. Not dozens or even hundreds, but thousands. Sleek vessels of precursor design, piloted by humans who were only beginning to grasp their power. Orbital platforms that had slumbered for millennia, now awake and combat-ready. And at the heart of the fleet, the Starborn, a flagship to rival anything in the Council's armada. The scout ship's captain swallowed hard. "Recall all forces," he ordered, his voice shaking. "The humans. They're not just defending. They're mobilizing." Back on the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Chen watched as the combined human precursor fleet assembled. Ships of every size and description fell into formation around the Starborn, their crews a mix of seasoned veterans and wide-eyed volunteers. Alina thought of the long years of peace, of the friendship and trust built with alien races, all of it shattered in a moment of fear and betrayal. Her heart ached for what was lost, but her resolve was iron. "Admiral," Ravi said softly, "the fleet awaits your command." Alina took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. When she spoke, her voice carried to every ship, every station, every colony where humans fought for survival. For 3,000 years, we lived in peace. We shared our worlds, our knowledge, our dreams. And in return, we were betrayed, cast out by those we call friends. She paused, her eyes sweeping across the assembled fleet. But we are not defeated. We are not cowed. We are humanity, children of Earth and heirs to the stars themselves. The Starborn's engines flared to life, casting a blue glow across the fleet. Alina's voice rose, ringing with determination. The Galactic Council fought to end us with a single stroke. Instead, they have awakened a giant. Now we will show them the true meaning of humanity's resolve. We go now not just to defend our homes, but to reclaim our destiny among the stars. A cheer went up across the fleet, echoing through space. As one, the armada began to move, the Starborn at its head. The next phase of the war had begun. And this time, humanity would not be caught unaware. Shattered alliances. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, once a beacon of unity, now seethed with discord. Representatives from hundreds of species argued bitterly, their voices rising in a cacophony of anger and fear. At the center of the storm stood High Arbiter Zolterra, their crystalline form pulsing with a kaleidoscope of troubled colors. "Order." Zolterra's resonant voice cut through the chaos. "We must have order." As the chamber slowly quieted, Ambassador Vexlor of the Proxian Confederation rose to speak, his silver skin gleaming under the harsh lights. "Esteemed colleagues, the situation has become untenable. The humans have not only repelled our initial assault, but have now revealed technologies beyond our comprehension. We must strike decisively before. Before what? The interruption came from Krasnik, the Zhoric representative. His mandibles clicked in agitation. "Before we drive them to annihilate us all. We began this war, Vexlor. Perhaps it's time we admitted our mistake." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but Vexlor's eyes narrowed dangerously. Mistake. The only mistake was underestimating the human threat. And now we see the true face of humanity. Vengeful, power-hungry, wielding the legacy of the precursors themselves. As the argument intensified, none noticed the small insectoid creature that scuttled along the chamber's shadowed ceiling, its compound eyes recording every word. Light years away, aboard the Starborn, Admiral Alina Chen watched the Council's debate with grim satisfaction. The spy drone's transmission painted a picture of a once unified galactic government fracturing under the weight of its own actions. "It seems our little revelation has caused quite the stir," Alina mused, turning to her assembled war council. The holographic faces of military leaders, scientists, and diplomats from across human space looked back at her, their expressions a mix of determination and concern. Dr. Arian Novak, newly appointed head of precursor research, spoke up. "Admiral, the Council's fear is not entirely unwarranted. The technologies we've unlocked, their potential is staggering. In the wrong hands, they could reshape the galaxy." Alina finished. which is why we must act swiftly and decisively. She turned to the hologram of General Akira Tanaka. What's the status of Operation Prometheus? Tanaka's weathered face was impassive. The strike teams are in position, awaiting your command. But Alina, he paused, his use of her first name underlining the gravity of the moment. Once we do this, there's no going back. We'll be burning bridges with every species in the council. Alina's jaw tightened. They burned that bridge when they declared war on us, old friend. Execute the operation. Across the galaxy, carefully planted human agents sprang into action. On the Proxian homeworld, quantum bombs detonated in key military installations, crippling their fleet. On Alpheus Prime, seat of the Galactic Council, a virus crafted from precursor code brought their vaunted defense systems crashing down. But the true masterstroke came in the form of a quantum-entangled broadcast, sent simultaneously to every world in Council space. The face of Dr. Yuki Sato, lead scientist of the Gordian Project, appeared on screens and holographic displays across the galaxy. People of the Galactic Council, Yuki began, her voice calm but filled with urgency. For 3,000 years, humanity lived peacefully among you. We share our art, our science, our dreams, and in return, your leaders voted to exterminate us. The broadcast cut to footage of the Council's declaration of war, then to scenes of the devastating attack on Earth. But there is something your leaders didn't tell you, Yuki continued, something they've hidden for centuries. What followed was a carefully curated presentation of evidence, ancient records, suppressed scientific findings, and finally, the truth about the precursors and humanity's connection to them. We are all children of the stars, Yuki concluded, but humanity was entrusted with a legacy your leaders feared. We don't seek vengeance or domination. We seek justice and a chance to forge a new path forward, together. In the council chamber, the reaction was immediate and violent. Species that had been steadfast allies for millennia now turned on each other with suspicion and rage. Krasnik rounded on Vexlor, his pincers snapping. You knew about the humans' heritage, and you led us into this war anyway. Vexlor's silver skin flushed dark with anger. I did what was necessary to protect our way of life. The humans and their precursor technology are a threat to everything we've built. High Arbiter Zolterra's crystalline form pulsed with a deep, mournful blue. What we built was a lie, Vexlor, a house of cards founded on fear and suppression, and now it's collapsing around us. As accusations flew and alliances crumbled, a new alert blared through the chamber. On the main view screen, thousands of human ships backed by precursor technology dropped out of FTL, surrounding Alpheus Prime. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen, her expression stern but not unkind. This is Admiral Alina Chen of the Human Precursor Alliance. Your planetary defenses have been neutralized. Your fleets are in disarray. We demand an immediate cessation of hostilities and the unconditional surrender of those responsible for the war against humanity. Back aboard the Starborn, Alina watched as the Council's response came in. World after world, species after species declared their surrender or their support for humanity. The coalition that had so confidently declared war mere weeks ago now lay in ruins. But Alina took no joy in the victory. She thought of the lives lost, the trust shattered, the future forever altered. What now? She murmured, almost to herself. It was Dr. Arya Novak who answered, stepping up beside her. Now, Admiral, we rebuild, but not as conquerors or rulers, as guides. Alina raised an eyebrow. Guides? Arya nodded, her eyes alight with the possibilities. The precursors left us their legacy for a reason, not to dominate, but to shepherd, to help the younger races reach their potential, just as we were helped long ago. A small smile tugged at Alina's lips, from diplomats to warriors to teachers. Quite the journey we've been on. It's the most human journey of all, Arya replied. To adapt, to overcome, and ultimately, to grow. As if in response to her words, the starborn systems hummed with new energy. Holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing not star maps or battle plans, but the intricate web of cultures and civilizations that made up the galaxy. Elena straightened her uniform, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "Well then, Doctor," she said, her voice filled with renewed purpose, "let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do." In the days that followed, the galaxy watched in amazement as humanity unveiled the full scope of their precursor inheritance. Terraforming engines brought life to dead worlds. Quantum gateways connected distant stars in the blink of an eye. And on 1,000 worlds, the teachings of the precursors were shared freely, ushering in an era of unprecedented growth and discovery. The war that had begun with betrayal ended not with the annihilation of a species, but with the birth of a new galactic order. And at its heart stood humanity, no longer outcasts or victims, but guardians of a legacy as vast as the cosmos itself. As news of these developments spread, a phrase began to echo across the stars, whispered in awe by beings of every shape and form. Humanity stands tall, and the galaxy rises with them. Redefining humanity. The great hall of the new galactic assembly on Earth buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from thousands of worlds filled the chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the vastness of life in the universe. At the center, a holographic display showed the starborn in orbit, its sleek form a reminder of the power that had reshaped the galaxy. Admiral Elena Chen, now serving as Earth's representative, stepped up to the podium. The chamber fell silent, all eyes and sensory organs fixed upon her. "Friends, allies, fellow sentients," Elena began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "A century ago, we stood on the brink of annihilation. Today, we stand united, not just as a collection of species, but as inheritors of a legacy greater than we ever imagined." As she spoke, the holographic display shifted, showing images of the transformations wrought across the galaxy. Dead worlds brought to life, ancient ruins restored, new technologies uplifting younger civilizations. "The precursor legacy has given us power beyond measure," Elena continued. "But with that power comes a choice and a responsibility. We can use it to dominate, to remake the galaxy in our image, or we can use it as it was intended, to guide, to nurture, to help all sentient life reach its full potential." A murmur ran through the assembly. Elena's gaze swept the chamber, meeting the eyes of former enemies and new allies alike. Humanity has been redefined by this journey. We are no longer just the inhabitants of a single world, but custodians of a cosmic heritage. And so I put before this assembly a proposal: the formation of the Galactic Custodianship. The holographic display shifted again, showing a complex network linking worlds and species across the galaxy. Not an empire, not a federation, but a partnership. A commitment to use the precursor legacy not for the benefit of one species, but for all. To exploration, to discovery, to the betterment of all sentient life. As Elena outlined the details of the proposal, the chamber buzzed with excitement and debate. But far above, aboard the Starborn, a different kind of discussion was taking place. Dr. Aria Novak stood before the Gordian core, its swirling energies casting strange shadows across the chamber. Around her, a team of scientists from a dozen species worked in harmony, their differences forgotten in the pursuit of knowledge. "The data is conclusive," Aria announced, her voice filled with awe. "The precursors didn't just leave us technology. They left us a roadmap to transcendence." Dr. Yuki Sato looked up from her console, her eyes wide. "You mean?" Aria nodded. "Ascension. The ability to shed our physical forms and exist as pure energy and consciousness. It's what the precursors themselves did, eons ago." The implications hung heavy in the air. Emeka Okafor, the quantum physicist who had helped unlock the secrets of the Gordian core, spoke softly. "If we pursue this, it would mean the end of humanity as we know it. The end of all organic life in the galaxy. Or the beginning of something greater," Aria countered. a unity of consciousness, free from the limitations of physical form, the ultimate expression of sentience. As the scientists debated, none noticed the small insectoid creature watching from the shadows, its compound eyes recording every word. Back in the assembly chamber, the debate over the galactic custodianship was reaching its climax. Species that had been at war mere decades ago now found common ground in the vision of a united galaxy. But just as the vote was about to be called, the chamber's holographic display flickered and changed. The image of the Starborn vanished, replaced by the recording from the ship's lab. Aria's voice echoed through the stunned silence. Ascension, the ability to shed our physical forms and exist as pure energy and consciousness. The chamber erupted into chaos. Accusations of human duplicity flew. Fears of forced transcendence spread like wildfire. The fragile alliance that had been forged in the aftermath of war threatened to shatter. Elena stood rooted to the spot, her mind racing. This was the moment that would define not just humanity, but the future of all sentient life in the galaxy. Taking a deep breath, she raised her voice above the tumult. Silence. The sheer force of her command brought a hush to the chamber. All eyes turned to her once more. Yes, Elena said, her voice steady. We have discovered the precursor's final gift, the path to transcendence. But it is not a weapon, not a threat, and certainly not a mandate. She paused, looking out at the sea of faces, human, alien, and everything in between. It is a choice each species, each individual must make for themselves. The galactic custodianship we propose is not about forcing a single path upon the galaxy. It's about ensuring that every sentient being has the freedom to choose their own destiny. Elena's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of possibility. Then, from the back of the chamber, a voice spoke up. It was Krasnik, the Zhorek representative who had stood by humanity in their darkest hour. I have seen the best and worst of humanity, Krasnik said, his mandibles clicking softly. I have seen their capacity for destruction and their even greater capacity for creation. If they say this transcendence is a choice, I believe them. One by one, other representatives voiced their agreement. The fear and suspicion that had threatened to tear the assembly apart began to dissipate, replaced by a cautious optimism. As the debate resumed, now focused on how to implement the custodianship and manage the knowledge of transcendence, Elena felt a presence at her side. It was Dr. Aria Novak, her expression a mix of apology and resolve. I'm sorry, Admiral, Aria said softly. I never meant for the information to leak like that. Elena shook her head. Perhaps it's better this way. No more secrets, no more hidden agendas. We move forward in full transparency, whatever the consequences. Aria nodded, then hesitated. And what about us, Elena? Humanity. Do we pursue transcendence? Elena's gaze drifted to the holographic display, now showing a map of the galaxy with countless points of light representing worlds and species under the proposed custodianship. We do what we've always done, Aria, Elena replied, a small smile playing at her lips. We explore, we learn, we grow. Some of us may choose transcendence, others may remain in physical form, and others still may find paths we haven't even imagined yet. She turned back to the scientist, her eyes alight with the possibilities of the future. That's the beauty of it, don't you see? We're no longer defined by our physical form, or our planet of origin, or even our species. We're defined by our choices, our actions, our dreams. As if in response to her words, the Gordian core aboard the Starborn pulsed with new energy. Across the galaxy, precursor artifacts hummed to life, their purpose finally understood. And in countless hearts and minds, a new understanding began to take root. Humanity had been forged in the crucible of war, tempered by the legacy of the precursors, and transformed by the power of choice. They stood now not as conquerors or victims, but as guardians of a galaxy full of potential. The vote for the galactic custodianship was almost unanimous. As the assembly adjourned, representatives from 1,000 worlds mingled, sharing ideas and visions for the future. The air was thick with excitement, with possibility, with hope. And far above, the Starborn continued its silent orbit, a beacon of what had been and what was yet to come. Humanity had been redefined, not by the war that had threatened to destroy them, but by the peace they had chosen to build. The galaxy watched, waited, and wondered. The next great adventure was about to begin.